What's going on, everybody? Today we're talking about the new Cell Reboot Leader that is coming out in the Ultimate decks. They're set to release in May. That's all the information that we have on the Dragon Ball website. That's all the information I have from my distributor, is that they're being released at some point. Taking a look, this is a reboot off of the Set 2 Cell Leader that we had. Taking a look at the card. I can't blow it up, but whatever. The old leader basically said put a card from your hand under this card, and then had some kind of draw effect, and then lets you pop a 3 cost or less. So that's what our front one does here, but now when we put a card underneath, we also draw a card. So we have a cycling aspect to the deck. Then the Awaken is if we have 3 or more cards under the leader, or we have 4 cards in our life. Then we can Awaken by untapping an energy and drawing a card. When we get to our front side up here, same effect as before, except it's when you attack, you place a card under your leader card and then draw 2 cards. So instead of cycling, on our turn 2 potentially, we start to draw and accumulate value. Then activate main once per turn. You can remove 2 cards from underneath, put them in the drop area. This card gains 5k and crit on the swing, as well as KOing any battle card on your opponent's side of the board. Unfortunately, this does not ignore barrier, so that makes it not necessarily as good, but 20 crit, swing, and a KO, it's pretty good. Like, it makes green a lot more playable, and so we'll take a look at the deck list here and look at how we're using the leader. So I want to go over first these 3 cards right here. They are all new to the Ultimate deck, as well as one other card we'll get to. Android 17, Absorption Imminent. So it's a 1-drop. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck and pull out an Android card. Really good. Not any Android, a green Android. Limits us a little bit as splash ability in other deck variants, but we can still pull out a green Android for this deck, which covers everything that we need to. Also searches our big cards that we need to get. Activate main if your leader is a mono green cell. Place this card under your leader. So on our first turn of the game, we can slap down this Android, look at the top 5, replace it in our hand with another Android, then drop it under our leader. That's 1 card. Our leader effect, put a card from our hand under our leader. That's 2. So now we have 2 cards under our leader. Unfortunately, they do have to be Androids. So for consistency purposes, we want to run quite a few Androids in the list, outside of just the splashable green stuff. Android 18, when you play this card, draw a card. Plain and simple. If your leader is a cell, put it under your leader card. Sounds great. So first turns of the game, we want to see these cards in our opening hand. That way we can plop them under our leader card and hopefully Awaken on turn 2. If we go first, this means we get to Awaken on turn 2 and swing crit, like before our opponent even really gets to do anything. The only matchup that would be a little worrisome would be like Gogeta Xeno. Being able to play out thwarting on turn 1, it's pretty impactful play. Going down, taking 2 life is fine. The other part of the Awaken, I guess, that I forgot to mention, was that if you have more than 8 life, or if more than 5 life, you take down to 5 life. So if Gogeta swings at us and he takes us from 8 to 5 on turn 1, turn 2 we Awaken, we would have gotten those cards anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. The third card here, we have a 3-drop. Kind of important with the numbering. Unique and crit, so we can only play 1 of these on our turn while it's out in the field. Fortunately, we get to cycle it. Crit is really important because our opponent's leader is probably going to be a 10k when this card hits the board. And then the auto, we can do this once per turn. If your leader card is a green Android, when the opponent's battle card is KO'd by one of your skills, play this card from your hand. Really simple. Our leader card KOs a 3 or less. Our leader card on the backside KOs anything. So this card will almost always be live based on just our leader effect. Activate main if your leader card is a mono green cell card and you place this card under your leader, draw 1 card. So it's a 10k crit, swing, and then it draws a card if it stays on the board after the swing. It's fantastic, puts another card under our leader, allowing us to use our leader abilities. Sequencing is going to be really important. This card is basically a cycler. When our leader card is on our backside, we'll swing or we'll activate main and kind of get those effects going first to give our leader 5k and crit. It does allow our opponent to sequence their defensive turn properly, being able to tap down our leader or tap down this card. It's a little unfortunate, but there's not much you can do. We are using crit swing, so we're going to take everything that we can get. Those are the 3 brand new cards from the expansion. The 4th one is Wretched Regeneration. Card's really good. We'll get to it here in a minute. So we're going to look at all of our splashable green cards. This whole top row, in theory, none of it's required, but they're not bad cards. Like green it's missing something right now, and we're just kind of trying to find the puzzle pieces and put them together in the right order. So we have Dormant. Dormant is extremely splashable in every green deck. It's a turn stopper. Fantastic. KOs a 2 cost or less, and then we can play our 3-drop androids off of this as well. And this is on our opponent's turn. So we wouldn't be able to activate main, but we'd be able to get a crit card out on the board, and then on our next turn we can do it again. So you guys all know how Dormant works. Surprise attack, Frieza. When you KO an opponent's battle card, you can play this card out for free, and it's a 15k crit swing. So we are forcing our opponent to combo out of our attacks with the 15k, 10k, and our leader swing at 20k. If they don't, they're taking life and putting it in the drop area, meaning that they're not gaining hand size except for on their turn, or if they're playing out super combos to let them draw cards. But that's not really gaining hand size, that's more just cycling. So a big part of Dragon Ball is resource management, and being able to get crit swing after crit swing off on your opponent forces them to use the resources just to defend instead of accumulating them for their turn with big offensive attacks. We have 3 of the surprise attack Friezas. Majin Buu, Unadulterated Malice, is our Topo for green. Exact same thing as Topo, but he's a 10k instead of a 20k. It doesn't really matter. We're just using it for the defensive purpose, and with all the free plays that we have in our deck, we can pretty much use our energy on turn 2 onward however we'd like. If we're playing a matchup where we have to be more defensive, this card comes in clutch, so that's why it's included. Our Unison is Demigra. No one's used Demigra in quite a while. The reason I put it in here is because it allows us instant access to Charismatic Villain, and if our opponent tries to attack into it, sure, it gives them free attacks, but on our end, it allows us to KO something 3 or less as well as something else on the board. That's pretty powerful. This allows us to ignore barrier. It's the only form of barrier removal that we have in the deck, actually, so it's pretty impactful. The permanent on the card allows us, when it would get a marker removed, it allows us to take a life instead. If we drop this on our first turn of the game and our opponent is going to start swinging, it allows us to take life and maintain the board presence rather than taking down to 5 life when we awaken anyway. It allows us to see more cards, get more androids in hand, so that we can awaken faster. Then we have Charismatic Villain. If your Unison has 2 more markers on it, when your opponent plays a battle card, you can counterplay with this and KO something 7 cost or less. Hits almost every card in the format that is important. It only really doesn't play impact in the game until turn like 4 or 5 when your opponent's playing out like big 8 cost cards. But that's okay. Doesn't ignore a barrier, still gets the job done. To go off of that, we have Fuzamasu. You can play this out for 1 energy off of Charismatic, but you realistically only need cards that add up to 5 cost to play this out. We have our 3-drop android that if we don't feel like we need the cycle and draw a card, if we have a 2-drop out, we can go into Zamasu off that. We have our surprise attack Frieza that costs 4. We can cycle that with an android 17 or 18 to get Zamasu out. Zamasu has a ton of value in a lot of matchups because he can't be removed by skills or be KO'd with Indestructible. So the only way to remove it is by negging it or placing it at the bottom of the deck. I think that works. Doesn't matter. Anyway, you get the swing off. You're dealing damage to your opponent, but they're discarding a card from their hand in the process, so they're still not gaining that hand value that they want to. If you swing into a Unison or a battle card, your opponent's just forced to pitch a card, and it helps with board removal. We have Rebrian, Punishing Passion. If your leader card's green, you tap 2 energy, remove this card from the drop area, and your opponent discards 2 cards in their hand. We're only playing 2 copies of this because it's not insanely relevant to our game plan. This is more of like a turn 5 play if we've already established enough on board for our secret rare, or turn 3, turn 4, could be even a turn 2 if we know we're going to awaken and leave that energy open. So I think it's a pretty strong card. It should be included in most green decks. Our overall strategy here is for hand control, so rebrand is important. Homicidal Clones is in here because it's a free negate and a blocker on board. It is live as soon as we awaken because we go down to 5 life. So this card is super important in a lot of decks in the format. Having a free blocker on board really deters your opponent from continuing their attacks or forces them to sequence properly instead of playing into this card. We play 1 Focus Breakthrough. It's cuttable, or you can keep it, entirely up to you. You could even go up to 2. The list is already pretty thick. Definitely some cuttable cards if you don't like how the deck plays. But Focus Breakthrough counterplays any cost 3 or less, which is all of your Floodgate negates. This will also hit Pan. So if your opponent's going to be forcing out a Pan on you to stop your crit swings during the turn, or if you think you're going for game, then you can just leave an energy open, or free play this by adding a card from your life to your hand. So you can tap out and then free play this to stop the floodgates. So 1 Focus Breakthrough, if you see it, you see it. I'm sure it's going to be impactful in somebody's game. Our big card for the deck, everyone was excited about, being able to play Perfect Force Cell again. So this guy is evolve off of a cell for 6 energy. We're not doing that. There are no other cells in the list for us to evolve off of. The reason for this guy being in here is to put under our leader card, and also for a union target for one of the further cards that we're going to talk about in the list. But if we do end up playing this card out, and our leader card is an android, which it is, he has double strike, and our opponent discards their hand size down to 3 cards. This guy just has to hit the board. So if we're playing against Sin Shenron and we get to turn 7, and they've got a 9-drop on board, tap 7, play out Cell, they discard down to 3 cards in hand. If they can't beat you on the next turn, then you're going to win the game. If you have an established board prior, and you've got enough swings to go through the 9-drop and swing into their leader, you're going to win the game. So our 30k body, we will be able to cheat it out with the extra card that I said we talk about later, so we will get to that. Flash Bomber, you really don't need this card. It's in here because nobody really plays it, but I think it's cool. Activate Battle, so your turn or your opponent's. Choose up to 1 android card in your battle area. It gains 10k and crit for the turn. Not important at all, but if you want your Zamasu swing to also be 30k crit, and so your opponent doesn't get to cycle that card, you can't do it because Zamasu's not an android. Yeah, right. So we have substitutes for this. Our next card is Android 20 Vile Creator. This gives a green attacking android 5k and double strike, but he's already a 5k combo, so he becomes a 10k double strike. This is our Champa for the deck, and it only works on android cards. Would this be better if it was a Champa? Maybe, but this card is searchable by our Android 17, and it's an android so that we can also drop it under our leader card for all of our leader effects. So if you wanted to, you could drop a 17 or an 18, knowing that you're going to put them under your leader, and then swing with it and give it double strike. And if you want to tap 2 for it, you can give it 20k and crit. So this becomes a 24 crit double strike swing for 3 energy on your turn. Is it good? Not really. Is it playable? Sure. If you can get it to work, it works out great. There's a lot of games that I've been playing where on your turn you're going for game, you still have 4 or 5 energy open, and then you're just dumping your hand. So sometimes these 1-cost combo power cards are not terrible. We have our Realm of the Gods Champa Destroys, our Realm of the Gods rare from the new set. Activate Battle if your leader card and all your energy is green, which it is. Choose one of your cards that gets 10k power for the turn. Pretty good. If it's your turn, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost greater than their energy and KO it. So this is a removal off of our swing. Typically you'll swing with your leader after activating main, giving it the 5k crit. So this will make your leader swing a 30k crit, and you get to pop something with this as well as with your leader effect. So just lots of board removal with green. It's pretty good. If it's your opponent's turn, this acts like a Cell's Earth Destroying. So it'll be a 15k combo. Your opponent gets to pick the card they discard. It's not random. So it's not really as good, but you're still working on limiting your opponent's hand size. So in all, it gets the job done, whether we're doing it offensively or defensively. We have the Wretched Regeneration. So this card is a negate. It is one of the only negates we have in the deck. So if your leader card is a Cell, negate the attack. Additionally, you may discard one card from your hand, play up to one green Cell card with an energy cost of 1 from your drop area. We're not playing any other Cells, so this card is just a negate, or is used for its second ability. Activate main for 4 energy. If your leader card is a Cell card, play up to one Cell Xeno card from under your leader card, or one green Cell card with an energy cost of 7 or 8 from under your leader card. Basically, the turn we think we're going to use this, you're going to use your leader effect, put your Perfect Force Cell underneath it, tap 4 energy, cheat out Perfect Cell, discard your opponent's hand down to 3. Seems pretty alright to me, right? If we get to turn 5, and this is an applicable play, right? You can put our secret rare, Cell Xeno, under our leader card. Once we do that, then Cell Xeno can come into play on turn 5 without having to have 12 cost of battle cards on the board. Cell's effect is if you have 5 or more energy. When you play this card, choose up to 3 cards in your opponent's hand, place them from the drop area, and then discard Kane's dual attack for the duration of the turn. So, dual attack, quad strike. This is the after. Oh, I see down here. So yeah, it gains dual attack and quad strike on turn 5. If you use it on turn 4, it's still a 40k swing, which is pretty big. But the fact that we can play out our secret rare now for 4 energy without having to, I guess, really do anything. We don't have to make any kind of board establishment. We can use all our energy during this whole game to just rip our opponent's hand away. And eventually they'll run out of resources. We do only have a 5k leader, 15k leader, so it's not like they can't just swing over us. But if your opponent doesn't have combo power, and on turn 5, if you can get there, you literally play out Cell Xeno, and whoop-de-doo, you give it crit. It becomes a 50k crit on the first quad strike swing on turn 5. Can literally take your opponent from 8 to 0, just like that. If they have negate in hand, of course they can negate the attack, but Cell is going to stick on board, and that is really strong. Next card is Super 17. This little engine you don't have to play. I think it's just fun and it works. If your leader card is an Android card and you have 4 or more energy, so you can't do this till late in the game, which is not great, but it does allow us to cycle and get more swings in if we're trying to be more aggressive for the successor. You can place a Cell card from your deck or drop area, which we'll definitely have one in the deck or in the drop area. Unfortunately, I don't think they'll all be under our leader card, but if that happens, we can just activate our leader's effect before we play this card. So place a Cell under this card and play from your deck or from your hand. Super 17, Cell Absorbed, or Super 17, Hellstorm Unleashed, with its keyword skills negated for the turn. That sounds like it's a bad thing, but it's really not that impactful here. So on turn 4, for basically 2 energy, because we can play out our card that we're going to successor off of for free, you play successor, you have a 16k swing, or you can just Union Absorb. Our 2 targets are right here. Hellstorm Unleashed, when it comes into play, you can do successor for it if you have 9 cost worth of battle cards on board, which is possible. We could have a Fuse Zamasu and a Frieza on board and successor into this card. When this guy comes out, he has crit, and his autos are when you play this card, your opponent crits their life down to 4. Doesn't sound all that great, right? If they're already at 4 or lower, but if your opponent's just like blocking every single swing, negating, just not taking the damage, this is a for sure way to just hit them really hard. You can also go into your Cell Xeno office easier because you are at 9 already, so just toss 3 more on board, battle card cost, and then go into Cell Xeno and finish off the game. Then when this card attacks, draw 1 card and choose 2 of your opponent's cards and switch into rest mode. It's going to be battle cards, energy, their leader card, unison card, doesn't matter. Anything that they have that's going to stop you, drop this guy on the board and just make it so they can't do anything. They have to have free negates at that point. So 30k body with a crit swing, pretty strong. It's in here just if you need it. Then we have Super 17 Self-Absorbed. We're only playing 1 of each of these guys. They're cool targets if you can get it off, but not being able to do it till turn 4 means that we don't want to like overextend on these. Unless you want to play a Super 17 engine, then go for it. But they're also androids, so they can go under our leader card as well. So this guy, he will have his keyword skills negated off of the successor ability, same with the last one. So on the turn they're played, they will not have the crit. This one won't have dual attack or deflect, but it will have its auto still. It will just ignore the sparking 10 condition, which is okay by us. When this card attacks, if your leader card is green, which it is, your opponent discards 2 cards from their hand. So you can drop this guy, swing into your opponent's unison card, and force them to discard 2 cards. So basically, on our turn 4, we can use our leader effect, clear the board a little bit, swing with crit, force our opponent to combo off in order to not take damage. Replay this guy off of the card that we KO'd, swing with this, it's a 10k crit. If we need to, use a super combo. Our super combo here forces our opponent to bottom deck a card from their hand. So we have then a 20k crit swing, where our opponent has now lost a card that way. For 1 energy, then we successor into Relentless Absorption. We can choose to swing with this, or tap 1, go into Cell Absorbed, and then force our opponent to drop 2 more cards from their hand on this swing as well. It won't have the crit, so they will probably take the damage and draw another card. But you've just forced 3 cards out of your opponent's hand with 2 energy. If we have 4 energy, which we will on turn 4, you can then also play Rebrian and make your opponent pitch 5 cards from their hand. And that is super impactful. A lot of decks like U7 do not have large hand sizes if they're trying to be aggressive, because they're dropping all their stuff on the board. So if you're playing out charismatic villains, dormant potentials, just ways to remove stuff from the board constantly, your opponent can't keep building, and you're going to keep clearing the board and clearing their hand because of the crit swings. So this is the deck list. Give it a try when the Ultimate deck comes out. If you play it on Untap, play it on Untap. Let me know how it goes. Tell me if you think it's good, bad. Honestly, I just put it together. It seemed like a pretty decent concept. If you like the Super 17 engine, run with that. Tell me how that goes. But yeah, let me know. Thanks. Have a good one. See you in the next one.